Good evening, everyone, and welcome to All Things Brunswick. Once again, we have a great show for you. Today is the 16th of April. I can't believe it already. And before we go any further and I introduce my co-host and guest, I just want to say hello to Mr. Howard. And thank you very much for your comment on Nextdoor and YouTube. Please continue to comment and let us know what you think about the show. Thanks so much, and I welcome comments from everyone. So, to go further, I'm going to introduce my co-host and allow him to introduce our guest. So, Todd?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Todd Osborne, and today we have the pleasure of having our mayor from Boiling Spring Lakes, Jeff Winecoff.
Hello, and thank you for having me here today.
Welcome, Jeff. Glad to have you again. We see a lot of you, but there's a lot of stuff going on in BSL.
There's a whole lot of stuff going on in BSL.
Right.
So I'm staying very busy.
Well, we appreciate you coming out and giving us a few answers, should I
Absolutely.
say.
So
I think that the big thing on people's mind are the dams.
well, the project, has been going on for a while now, since last July, and we're making great progress. We're way ahead of schedule. The big holdup has been East Bowling Spring Lakes Road. The project was supposed to start all together, and the biggest problem was a 100-ton piece of equipment that was doing drilling and concrete, and they couldn't get it out the back way. So that only alternative was take it down East Bowling Spring Lakes Road. Well, they'd already tore the road up, and to get the road recertified and to have the ability to be able to drive traffic over it was going to take a lot of money and a lot of effort to get that done. We couldn't get any kind of insurance from the engineers or anybody to be able to open the road back up, so it would put BSL liable for any accident that may happen on that road. So the decision was it wasn't very appropriate to spend that kind of money to open the road back up. We sort of let with the contract, have the construction department have full control over this project. And allowing us to do that, they're so far ahead of schedule right now. We're looking very, very good for them finishing up a lot sooner and that all the roads opening up, even Austin Lennon, which is a viable route for our emergency personnel,
Yes.
fire, police, to be able to get to the other side of the city. Mm-hmm. So we're moving forward. We're looking forward to it, and actually got news yesterday. The 100-ton piece of equipment had been broken down and is starting to be taken out. So they will actually be jumping on all parts of the dam very, very soon, hopefully this week.
Wow.
Upper Lake, they're practically almost finished in about 2 weeks. They just have some housekeeping stuff to do up there when they get through with that. They're moving to North Lake and Pine Lake dams, and then we'll be moving on very quickly.
Holy moly, I guess they are.
Yeah, they started working on, they moved the equipment to North Lake Friday, and they started working on it yesterday.
Yeah.
Really?
They've already got it dug back out.
I haven't driven up there, so I'm not aware, but that's incredible.
Well, the mayor gets to drive that detour every day. So.
I'm sure.
I do, and I actually took WWAY up there the other day so they can film right there at North Lake and see what we've been talking about the whole time. We've got a lot of grief because of the road being closed, but you have to look at the whole picture for the whole community. Mm-hmm. And you have to make sure what you're doing is for the whole community and just not for a group.
Right.
And that's what we've tried to do. So I drive it probably about 2 to 3 times a day. Yes, it takes a few extra minutes to get through there, but the overall end of the project to be a win-win for our city.
Absolutely.
And that detour is a major pain when you're pulling a trailer.
It is a major pain, and we're getting ready to be down to just one road for the detour because they'll be closing that other section off for the Pine Lake project. And we've got in the works, we're putting in for more grants to actually pave Juniper and some more roads around the city, because we've looked at, if something was to happen to 87, the main bridge, how would traffic get through? So we're looking at paving the loop around. So if we do have a problem, then we'll have access around the city.
Great. That is a grand idea.
And that's one of the things I see as an issue for the northern part of the county is 87. If you look at the flood maps, both the bridges on 87 from Boiling Springs to Southport are both underwater in a flood. So that evacuation route's out of the picture, and that's one thing I think all of our leaders need to get on DOT and the board, the DOT Transportation Board, to get them motivated to cut loose the funding so we can move that project up, because they will flood. Even
Now,
with the dams, they can still flood.
Is it just 87 that's evacuation route, or do they go 133 too?
They go to 11. 133 is used a little bit, but 87 is a big major thoroughfare through there.
Now, are there places on 133 into Belleville that flood out?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've pointed out, if we have a major rain or major storm, 211 floods out quite often, 133 floods out quite often, but, we still have a viable route through 87. So it's less likely to flood than these other roads. And I've just got appointed to the Rural Transportation Board as an alternate.
Congratulations.
And we had a meeting with the rep, Sam, and discussed how important it is to actually look at how we're predicting how we're going to move roads forward. Because, the projects always, they plan them so far out that when, just like I pointed out, right now we have a major housing development on 87 right there before 17.
Yes.
Well, our roads have been on the books, 87's been on the books for years and years and years. So we got to start taking into consideration when these major projects happen, it affects everything downstream and upstream.
Right.
And we have to look at maybe reprioritizing how we look at roads. And that's something that they need to look at the state end, and also with the county and the local end, working together in partnership to get this done.
Absolutely. And that's quite a huge development too, isn't it?
It's huge, yeah. And it will impact, because they're either going towards Southport or they're going towards Leland if they're going to go somewhere from that project. And you look at where the stores are close by that they need to do. I've tried to reach out to a few of our grocery chains to see if they're interested in coming to Boiling Spring Lakes, because the opportunity is there for them to actually grow with us.
So we've actually done that for years, I think. We have wanted grocery stores forever. Everybody wants one. And we have reached out to them for many, many years. So it amazes me, and I wonder when that is going to happen.
Well, I'm trying. I don't like to be still. I like to stay busy.
I
So
know.
the dam projects are well underway. So I'm looking for something else to keep moving forward to.
Well, and two, if you look at the demographics, which is what they mainly base things off of, in our whole northern part of the county, because of Bolivia, Winnebago, they all either have to go to Southport, Charlotte, or
Right.
Leland
Yeah.
Yes.
to get stuff. And I've had a lot of people say, well, why do we need a grocery store here? It's only 6 miles to Southport. Well, 48% of our population is over the age of 60. And as people get older, they like driving in the dark a lot less.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's an issue is because they don't want to drive in the daytime, because that's when everybody's out there driving. So they want to avoid the rushes, and I understand that. But I do know a lot of people that don't like to drive at night and all, and if they could just run to the corner store and get what they need, that would be much more beneficial for them and safer for them too.
Yeah, and I'm looking at all developments going on up to 11. I mean, it may be convenient for you going to the store in Southport now, but as all that development starts coming together, them stores are going to get crowded, and you're going to be saying, I wish we had a grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the main priority is trying to get something, because we have a lot of land, and it needs to be utilized for some, because we need commercial part of our sales tax, because The mayors get together once a month and have discussions about what we need to work on together as a group. And some of the discussions we have is the property tax is just 1/3 of the whole city's budget. The rest of it's sales tax.
Yes.
So we can't keep looking at our property tax and just saying, hey, we got to raise taxes. We have to raise taxes. We got to start bringing in more revenue from commercial development, small commercial development, but we still have to look at and bring it in. So that's the main purpose.
I believe that in the past, in our city, we've kind of sat on the commercial aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it was wanted that much, but I believe now because we don't have as many retirees, we have families in our city, and I believe that they would like to see more commercial property in our city. So
I think it's essential. We want to have to look forward to that because sales tax is 2/3 of what we bring in.
right.
So we have to have that revenue coming in to offset the expenses that we're having, because everybody knows about this inflation and it's really driving things around
It is.
the city, the county, and the state. So we have to look for that way to bring money in.
Well, my position on that is pretty simple. Is let's go get the businesses we want, and they take up the space to prevent the ones we don't. It's bring in what we need. A grocery store, I think, because I put a survey out one time on Nextdoor about that, and grocery store was number one. Quite a few people wanted a drugstore.
Right.
Basic things really. We don't want a whole bunch of miniature golf or stuff like that.
Sure.
I don't think anybody mentioned that, but it's the ideal though if you can bring in the businesses that you need in your community and that can survive in your community. It actually helps small businesses start up.
Right.
So
It does, and I'll tell you something else we've looked at and we actually have done. They had the golf clubhouse for sale in the land.
Yes.
And it was offered to us at a very good price because Steve wanted to give back to the community. So the one thing we looked at is how can we bring revenue in from that area and serve our city. So we've looked at an event center and being able to put an event center there to be able to hold weddings or parties or events throughout the city can bring in revenue to the city to offset those increases we've been seeing. So we're looking at that. We've also been looking at all the grants we can probably go for and try to get for that. One of my commissioners, Commissioner May, had a wonderful idea, is actually extending a peninsula out from there and putting a little gazebo for the weddings to be on. So we're looking at Southport brings over $200,000 a year in from their event center.
Yes, they
so
do.
we're looking at the same thing, if not more.
So that would be where the old clubhouse is?
Absolutely.
And you would own the old clubhouse?
We'd own the whole property, clubhouse, everything there.
Okay.
So-
Now, is that I was told that clubhouse flooded.
It's we're looking at trying to put some stuff out there to be able to prevent flooding, and we've also looking at the height of the land and how we can prevent any flooding from
Right.
that. So we're looking at different ideas to be able to make sure that we're not getting something we're putting money into.
something
Okay.
along the lines of a seawall
Yes.
and build up
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
a nice small boat ramp, maybe a kayak launch.
Well, we've
Something like
actually
that.
had discussions about a boat ramp out there that will not be paid for by the city. So as far as I can say till I can get something in the works at making it happen.
I think that's a beautiful spot for events and whatnot. I've held many events there when I worked as special events coordinator. Everybody seemed to like that area very much.
I think it's a beautiful area. It's a the community center right now to where it sits and trying to develop it more with the not having sewer there would be a hefty price tag
Right.
for us. So we're looking at we've been talking about a center city in our area and making that a focal point of our center city
Oh,
and actually building out from there as we go from the center point.
I see. That's interesting.
It's a lot of thinking outside the box we've been doing. When you get into government, you have to be a little bit creative
Absolutely.
and just try to think outside the box what will actually help in the long run.
Yes. And on that note, Jeff, talk to us a little bit about sewer in BSL.
Well, we had our first meeting with the county and the reps. Commissioner Thompson and Commissioner Forte was part of that group we met with and discussed, because, the city already has the plans laid out. So we're looking at what zone, because we have to zone it out, what zone we want to start with first. So we're sort of narrowing the area down for the zone we're going to start first with sewer. Then we're going to look for grants to try to offset prices. We've already had discussions with Representative Miller, how the state may be able to partner with us to be able to offset some of those costs. So the initial process has started. The town staff and the county staff are start working together to get the plans laid out and bring us back a price tag of what it's going to cost to move forward.
Mm-hmm. I remembered the days when we got water. And we knew that that was a must, okay, because people's wells were failing. The problem was that individuals who lived there on a fixed income were so afraid because they didn't know how they were going to come up with that amount of money that was required. And I remember that the city worked with those individuals. Will they do that again?
Our plan is to go after all the grant money and the funding we can get, so we don't have the individuals paying for this. Just like we did the lakes where everybody thought it was impossible. Well, just a little hard work, it can make things happen. So that's our plans. We're going after all the grant money we can get and approach the state to see how they can help us and make this happen.
Great.
I would think the state would be more than willing to help. We're the third fastest growing county in the nation now.
The message we're hearing is that that's one of the high priorities right now for the state, is being able to help cities get developed with their water and sewer. And I've also asked our town manager to look at, while we're doing this, there's areas that does not have water right now, and seeing how we can get the water down to these properties and give them the option to tie into water too.
Is that the ranchettes? And
that's more down that way,
yeah.
Yeah, because even down my road I have water. I don't have water.
Really?
It stops at the beginning of our road. So there's a lot of developed areas now, and its BSL's growing, still doesn't have water their own wells. So
I did not realize
we
that.
need to look at all these areas that still do not have water access to them and try to make that part of the plan too.
Yes, absolutely.
So there's a lot going on in BSL right now.
Well, and Jeff, it seems like when you came on board as mayor, everything went boom.
Well, I've always been somebody who likes to multitask, and I've always been on the go my whole life. I haven't slowed down, and I don't know what it's like to slow down. I'm trying to learn. I just retired, and I'm trying to learn the slow down method, but, I have to stay busy.
Well, I think that one of the pluses about our city since you have come on board, and Todd as well, because is your grants committee. And I know that Todd chaired that committee, and I think that is one of the major pluses in our city. Every city needs a grants committee.
They really do. I mean, when we got into office, one of our things was we need to go after more grants, and we had three major steps we wanted to go. We wanted to get money for the dams and the lakes. We wanted money for retention for floods, and we wanted to get money for our roads. So the first three grants they went after, they nailed it. They got all three of them.
Right.
So we were like, all right, we're moving forward. But, as you get these grants, it gets harder and harder to get.
Yeah.
So we're looking at, like I said, grants for the roads right now. And hopefully we can get some part of that money that's out there right now with the Department of Defense, because it's like I said, 87 is a major route, and if we lose that part of that bridge or that road, the city's in trouble. We're looking at Sunny Point. If they have transportation going back and forward, it benefits them too.
Absolutely. I was going to say, don't they need to be involved
Well,
in
we've
this?
asked them, we're going to be showing them what we're planning on doing to get their support.
Right.
The Rural Transportation Board has already gave us their support on this, and we're moving forward with this grant. And then May 20th, I'm actually heading to Washington, D.C. because, we had joined the American Flood Coalition.
Right.
So a lot of our updates and news about grants and all that come with them, and they've helped us out a lot. So I'm going to Washington with their behalf, asking me to go with some other mayors around North Carolina and from the whole country to speak on flood retention, to get Congress to get more active, more involved in trying to give more money down this way.
Excellent.
So like I said, busy.
There's
You
ways
are
to make things
busy.
happen. You just got to be determined to make them happen,
Right.
and that's Jeff and I have worked together on a lot of projects, and we work very well together. And sometimes we'll both attack a problem, but we'll both come from different directions. And that's kind of what he's doing on a lot of this stuff, and I have tremendous respect for that, because it's the old saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat, which I don't know who'd want to skin one, but that's the old saying. But that's how you get things done, though.
Yeah, I mean, we've all hear everybody. There's a lot of talk out there, but unless you're willing to go do it, it's pointless. So
Right.
I don't like to talk about something I'm not willing to go do. So
That's wonderful.
And there's
We
a
are
tremendous amount of opportunity out there, not just for BSL, but for
yes,
every city.
Right.
yes,
You just got to get your leadership to be willing to step up and
Yeah.
go the distance. And a lot of it depends on your volunteers from your community. That plays a big part in it.
Absolutely. Volunteers are they're priceless.
Well, it's the volunteers, and you got to look at your staff that your town has, and we have actually got a great staff that's been put together, who's doing great work for our city. Our town manager, Gordon, me and him talk pretty much almost every day, and we run and bounce things off each other constantly, and it gives us that ability to expand out, and our commissioners are totally involved in everything we do. So it gives us that leg up to be able to move forward, because everybody's on the same page of what we actually need to get accomplished. So
Right.
that works out great.
And that is very important. And on that note, folks, we're going to break and pay a few bills. So please come back and stay with us while we talk to the mayor of Boiling Spring Lakes. What a great place we all call home, from colorful sunsets to panoramic coastal views. The best attractions are its people, a community of friends and family. J.K. Summers, attorney at law, recognizes this fact and is proud of his work to protect their rights. Put your trust in him to prepare wills and trusts, real estate transactions, contract and LLC creations, and criminal, traffic, and civil matters. Visit oakislandlaw.com or call 910-253-5572. J.K. Summers, Attorney at Law.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you are a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're interviewing Jeff Winecoff from the city of Boiling Spring Lakes. One spring, 50 lakes.
52.
Excuse me, 52. I just learned that. I did not know that. Well, one question I have for you, Jeff, and we've had some discussion on this, and I know jury's still out on some of it, but FEMA's no-rise policy on lakes?
Yeah, it's made it difficult for a lot of our residents because, you know, the whole idea is to rebuild your docks before the lakes get impounded. And we've had a lot of discussion about this, which way we need to go, what we need to do. One of the things that we're looking at now is that, you know, in the project, the engineer will sign off on the no rise. Well, I've asked, can we go ahead and see what it costs us to go ahead and get that done and get the engineer to look at it, sign off on it, and let them, the town, be the city who issues the permits for that, and go
Right.
ahead and move forward trying to get the docks for the residents done. So that's one of the things we're looking at, trying to go ahead and get that ahead of schedule, since the project's ahead of schedule, and let these residents be able to go ahead and get their docks rebuilt.
Yeah, one of the things I was curious about, because included in this issue was floating docks. And my problem with the way the rules are written, a floating dock's the same as a boat. So how is that going to change the rise of the lake?
We've had many discussions on this because, you know, a lot of times when you look how these acts or these policies are written, you look at what's the common sense reality of it. And discussion with our board has been, you know, it doesn't make sense that, you know, this floating dock is actually going to make the water rise. So there's a lot of discussion going on with this, and we're still trying to work through all the issues with this. So hopefully, cross your fingers, if we can get the engineer to go ahead and sign off on this, it'll make life a lot easier for everybody.
And now the building codes aren't going to change. The building codes are the building codes.
The building codes are the building codes. What we're doing now is we're looking at some of the UDOs, trying to adjust them to bring them more into the new reality of what is going on in our community, because, you know, there's things out there that doesn't make sense. You know, I'm a person who a one-size-fit-all doesn't work for our city or anybody. So we need to look at how we can, you know, generate the code to really work for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I had one of my neighbors who has done a seawall plan and a dock, and the Army Corps of Engineers signed off on it, and I believe that is the normal process. The Army Corps has to approve it, and then you can go on. But I don't think just because the Army Corps signed off on it that she's allowed to do it yet.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of red tape that happens through this, and it really just it prolongs a project. It makes extra steps that's not needed, and the
And
common
cost.
and the common sense is really starting to play into this a lot, because I've never been a fan of government, but
Says
you
our
know,
mayor.
but I'm in it, and you know, you try to work to what's best and helps your residents, and that's the main reason I'm in it. I mean, we've got to get some reality back into our world and make things a lot simpler instead of all the red tape.
Exactly. And I understand
Absolutely.
there's a reason for many of the rules, but they conflict each other, and they don't have to be so complicated.
And if you look at a lot of things that get done, a lot of them do conflict with each other. And that's what we're trying to do as part of our UDO and looking at our ordinance and our codes, is get everything where everything's working together, not against each other. And that's what usually happens with a lot of these projects.
I think that's an ongoing issue.
It is. It's everywhere, but you know, you've got to work to get things where, like I said, it's more reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the grant you're going after for the road paving, that's a direct result of getting the DCIP grant for the dams, correct?
It is. It absolutely is. We've looked at the whole picture of the what we actually need in the city moving forward. And I've explained to a lot of people, 87 is a major thoroughfare. If anything were to happen to the bridge right there in Bowling Spring Lakes, it would throw a big loop on traffic, commerce, and the way we get around our city. So we have a road that we can loop around the bridge. It would be a one-lane, I think it's 14-foot We looked at maybe 16 foot to allow pedestrians to be able to get across it too, to be able to route traffic around in case we had something going on. Because as you know, if we start to do the project of widening 87,
Yes.
at some point that bridge will have to shut down, and we'll have to have alternate routes.
Yes.
Well, if the state's doing it, they'll build half the bridge
Right.
and then tear out what's existing and then add to it.
Yeah.
My only concern with that part is who's going to get hurt? Is it going to be the office coffee shop, or is it going to be the motel? Because the state already owns the right of way there,
Right.
but one of them's going to have a bridge pushed up pretty close to them.
Well, we've had discussions with them because the original plan called for a 4-lane highway.
Right.
And a 4-lane highway going through our city would probably, I consider, disaster.
Yes.
So what we've asked them to do is have a center turn lane and turn lanes instead of the 4-lane highway to keep our little city atmosphere that's still there without all this high-speed traffic. So that's what they're going to work on trying to create for us.
Great.
So,
That's wonderful because we have had a lot of issues concerning that fact. That 87 is a dangerous road.
it is very dangerous.
And I don't know that if you've ever witnessed, I know that when I come from Southport and I have to turn up the road that I live on, those people that are behind me that are going out to 17, they are flying.
And we looked at, it's on the books right now, adding turn lanes at 50 Lakes, being able to give a little off-ramp for them to be able to turn, because, there's been many accidents
Yes.
lately in Bowling Spring
Yes.
Lakes, that area.
Yep.
So we're looking at, all that's on the books, looking at, we got to make sure it tries to get approved this year so we can move forward with that. So there's a lot of things that need to happen in that area. And as traffic keeps increasing, we have to really start looking at 87 as getting some kind of project update to be able to move forward.
Yes, absolutely, because we are, as a county, growing, and that is all around that particular area. So,
Well, if you've heard all the reports that's been out there, we've had the north end of the county grow, the south end of the county grow, and everybody's the expectations is the central part of the county, which is
So,
us. So
That's
we have to
us.
make sure that we're ahead of the game and not behind.
exactly.
So we're working, and with like I said, we have a great relationship with our state. Representative Miller, you cannot ask for anybody any
I know,
better.
he's wonderful.
He is on
As
top of it.
is Representative Weiler.
Yep,
We
Representative Weiler.
owe them both a great deal.
Yeah, Senator Rayburn. he is.
And
he's on it. We had both of them, Representative Miller and Rayburn, out to see the progress of the dams, and they were excited about the progress we made.
Right.
So they actually got to see what the money's being spent for.
That's great. That is wonderful. I have a question, Jeff, and I know that when I was in city government many years ago, it was an issue. It was not something we could do anything about, but it was a concern. And I'd like to ask you, I'm not sure if that is still a concern or if it just is. But I know that the Nature Conservancy owns a great deal of our city. Is that still the case?
It is. They still own a lot of it. There's been a lot of conversation with them, with the community center out that area, walking trails and stuff back through there. But yeah, they still do own a big part of our city. So, control. So
Now, what is the intention?
the only thing I can really relate to it is them trying to hold on to the property to make sure that it stays nature-wise, no kind of major activity through there. So that's why we did approach them, try to get the relationship with them to be able to go out through there, to have little walking trails out through there and make sure that we had that relationship with them. So.
So now I know that I am aware that there were a lot of folks who bought property in VSL in the 60s. And learned that either they were unable to come here and develop it, or they chose not to. And so what they did was they just awarded it to the Nature Conservancy. Is that still happening?
I think, I don't know if it's still happening, but I know there's some property out there that Commissioner Sherwood is wanting to look at trying to get grants for to give to them. So that is out there.
She wants to give it to the Nature
So
Conservancy?
that property stays conservative. She's been looking at that. We haven't moved forward with that right now because we have more things on our plate that we need to worry about trying to get grants for to be able to help our city.
Kind of, in my opinion, I think they have enough property. But that's just my opinion, folks.
Well, and keep in mind now, the organization A Great Place to Save just purchased that 960 acres from Southport all the way up to behind where the Conservancy owns, behind our community center. That's a conservation land trust. So we've got a lot of that going on in our county, especially around the Southport area and out that way towards the center of the county. The thing is, the developers are trying to buy it faster than they can raise the money to do it.
Right.
So,
I tell you something that we have to look forward, and I think we need to look at our city too, because, Bowling Spring Lakes is really one of the cheapest places you can live
Oh, yes.
around our area.
Oh, yes.
And the whole problem is we have all this workforce out there, and they don't have the places to live
Exactly.
because it's so expensive. I mean, at some point, I think we need to look at areas in Bowling Spring Lakes where we can actually bring in the workforce
Yes.
to be able to have affordable living, to be able
And
to
the first responders.
absolutely, because
Yes.
that's
Yep.
important anywhere, because property and houses are getting so expensive they can't afford to live
You
nearby.
are right. Yeah.
So that's
That
something.
is very sad to me.
So that's something we have to look at, because you have to have the workforce to be able to make
Well,
things
they
go.
are the backbone of our county.
Absolutely.
And the first responders.
Yes.
We have to have a place for them to call home.
If I had a whole development of first responders, our city would be so blessed.
Yes.
So we have to. We
I
actually have to
agree.
look to
Yes.
try to give them a place that they can live that's
Yep.
affordable. So that's
Absolutely.
something on our radar we're looking at too.
Good.
So.
I am happy to hear that, because I have, in the last 2 weeks, I have talked to several folks that work in that field. Actually, one of them who works in the southern part of the county lives in Wilmington, because it was the only place he could find to be able to afford to live.
Yeah.
And now that is sad, folks, because he's driving over, 45 minutes one way every single day to go to work.
Well, I mean, we've got to start taking care of people around here. We've got to make things easier for all our
Yes.
police, our fire, our EMS to be able to live and survive. And to me, once you start doing that, then you can look at prices of things to start to come down, because they don't have to worry about all this expense.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it to me, I always look at it as a trickle-down effect, how things are going to act if you do one thing or the other.
I'm so happy to hear, Jeff, that you are looking into that for those folks, because they really need a place.
well, and it's really
Absolutely.
become a problem in the southern part of our county.
Yes.
Ocean Isle, Calabash, all those, the cost of everything and rent and properties and all has just skyrocketed in the past few years. And it's making it very difficult for blue collar.
Well, this
to
is
be able to live
where
there.
this gentleman needs to live, because he works there
Yeah.
and he is unable to. And that's sad. That is ridiculous.
Well, it is. It's, there's always these ideas out there, but, to me, leadership sometimes has to just step up to the plate and say, look, this is what we need to do, this is how we need to move forward, and this is what we got to plan out to start looking at. So,
Yes.
but so everybody needs to start doing that, just not BSL. I mean, this is
Oh, you're
a
right.
nationwide issue.
You're right. And there's no place like starting right here in the county.
So, but yeah, there's a lot of things we're looking at, a lot of things we're talking about, and trying to move forward on a lot of it. So,
I would like to know what your thoughts are on the tree cutting in the county.
well, from coming from Oak Island, that was always one of our big issues, saving the
Yes.
trees. And to me, we have to make a more effort to be able to do some of that. Every house I've ever built, I've always saved the trees that were around it, because to me, that's important, the tree canopy. So we need to look at how we can preserve some of the trees. Yes, we know the house has to be built, and we know that there's efforts that need to take place. But, as we look at our county and every surrounding areas, stormwater. So that's a big part of it.
It is a very big part of it.
So we do need to make that effort to be able to preserve some of our trees. Yes, we do.
That's one of the things, too, that I've been looking into and trying to learn more about the native plants and trees around here and all. You know how on 87 we have all the crepe myrtles? Imagine if we'd have put pin oaks there when those were planted. A pin oak in 10 years will have 8 times the canopy of a pine tree. So you're not only lowering the ground temperature with the shade and all, you're creating a greater stormwater runoff control. You're also shading the roads. You and I spoke of this the other day. You lower the asphalt temperatures, especially during July and August, and that helps preserve the road for a
Sure.
longer period of time.
Yep, absolutely.
I think there's things like that that can be implemented, and I think too, if municipalities in the county work with property owners a little more, they can get people to, okay, yeah, I don't need to use this edge of my yard along the fence line or whatever. I can leave these trees. I don't need to tear them out. But I also get the other side of the argument is, okay, you don't want me parking my boat in my front yard, but you won't let me cut down the trees so I can park them in the back. So, I think we can use land, but do it responsibly to where people can use their property and still keep the tree canopies around.
Yeah, I mean, it boils down to, like I told you, it's common sense.
Yes.
It's that approach you have to use. I mean, yes, regulations are out there a lot, but you look at the common sense of everything. How does this affect this? So I've always been a proponent of trees, and I won't change my mind on that. So
I find it very sad. When I drive up Boiling Spring Road and go across the tracks, and years ago when we were developing beyond the tracks, I guess trees weren't thought of very well, because if you'll notice when you look to your left, I mean, there's houses, but it's just wiped clean of trees.
oh yeah.
And it's so sad to see that, because I remember when that area was all trees. I have been here that long. So, and then I remember standing off Redwood in water up to here when I was a commissioner, because I had folks who were complaining that their houses were flooding. And it was so sad, because the answer was right there. They had cut down all the trees.
Yep.
And didn't plant anything back.
No.
And that's kind of part of my argument, because if you're coming up 17 from Myrtle Beach, there's 14 housing developments under construction. And what they do is, I think it's Horton Homes, has like 5 different subsidiaries. The first one comes in, buys the land, timbers it. So they've already wiped out everything. And there's nothing you can do about that, because that's protected by the Constitution. And let's face it, longleaf pines in North Carolina is a commodity, just like tobacco, cotton,
yes.
corn, anything else.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. The problem is when they do that, they don't put anything back.
Right.
And, you know, most of the time when they buy properties like that, they'll clear cut it, and then they'll clean it, and then they'll replant, and in 35 years, they harvest again. I don't have issue with that because at least you're replenishing it. And even as many trees as I took out of my backyard, and you know about it, I planted back 16 trees.
Right.
But I put them where they're out of my way, and I can still use my property. And I think it's the responsible and, like you said, common sense
Yes.
for development that we need. And part of what I was wanting to see is, and I've seen it done in other counties, where they require a buffer all the way around the perimeter of the
Right.
property.
And on that note, we have to leave and pay a couple bills again. Please come back and join us, folks. What a great place we all call home. From colorful sunsets to panoramic coastal views. The best attractions are its people, a community of friends and family. J.K. Summers, attorney at law, recognizes this fact and is proud of his work to protect their rights. Put your trust in him to prepare wills and trusts, real estate transactions, contract and LLC creations, and criminal, traffic, and civil matters. Visit oakislandlaw.com or call 910-253-5572. J.K. Summers, attorney at law.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you are a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Welcome back, everybody, to All Things Brunswick. Today with us, we have the mayor of Boiling Spring Lakes, Jeff Winecoff. We are talking about everything from dams to trees. And I think that has been a very interesting show. And I appreciate you coming.
Well, you're welcome. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on, and you've got to be active part of it.
Absolutely. Is there anything in particular, Mayor Winecoff, that you wish to share with the audience at this point?
There's just a lot of projects going on in the city. There's been, everybody's had their problems with East Bowling Spring Lakes Road. But we found if we let the contractors do the work we hired them to do and the contract we signed with them, work goes a lot smoother and a lot better because to be able to change everything that went along, we would have had to pay more money, shut down the road multiple times and giving us a little lead time to get word out. With them being able to go to work and do testing of the soil and all that without any problems, it's made the project run smoother. It's made the project move faster, and it's had the project in budget, which is main.
Wonderful.
So, I mean, the taxpayers haven't had to pay 1 cent for this project. Everything was done by state funding, federal grants, the county giving us $3 million to move this project forward. And it's been a whole team effort to get this project done as smooth and fast as possible.
I think it's wonderful. And I commend you for your direction. And none of this would have happened had it not been for your direction.
Well, I thank you, but, I can't take all this.
Well,
it took a team effort
I understand
between
that.
the commissioners. And like I said, our staff has been spot on. We've had to make some changes in town staff. But this team that's in there right now is really moving and working together and gelling together to do what's best for our city.
We still need direction, and you've given that.
So
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Don't you agree, Todd?
Absolutely. It's funny because a lot of people go, man, you're good friends with the mayor. I said, well, I consider him a friend. He just considers me a pain.
Well, you know, something that since I started in government, like I said, I don't like government, but I didn't do it because I wanted something to benefit me. I did this because, you know, you have to work for something you believe in, and I've always tried to make sure taxes didn't get raised and you work for the residents who put you in office. I mean, that's the whole idea of it is making your city better.
And you have shown
So,
that, Jeff.
but that's
and
my
I
priority.
think we as a city appreciate that, and you very much.
I appreciate everything, and, you know, I appreciate the commissioners for all of us working together for the center goal of getting our lakes back, getting Austin Lennon Road open back up for our emergency personnel, and just making our city whole again. I mean, to be able to do that is going to reap huge benefits, I think, for us in the long run.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, when Hurricane Florence came through here and destroyed us, literally, she destroyed us. Personally, I thought, oh, we're never going to be the same, ever. We were fortunate enough to elect you as our mayor and some very good commissioners. And, I mean, you folks have really, along with our wonderful representatives and our senator, and people on the grants committee. I mean, you're right. It has taken a team effort, and doesn't it do your heart good to see everybody come together in our city?
Well, it's give and take. I mean, nobody's ever going to get exactly what they want.
Of course not.
But if you're willing to work together and work for a common goal, then everything works out in the long run.
Absolutely.
And that's the key to me, is having a defined goal.
Yep.
Know what the objective is, and then you can bicker about different ways to get there. But as long as everyone's working to get there, that's where we get. And I call it being reasonable people. And I think we've had some very reasonable people on our commission, so
Yeah.
that has been a huge help.
Yeah, one of the things the manager and me agree on, you have to crawl before you can walk.
Of course.
And we're crawling and trying to take the baby steps, and then we're going to get there.
Absolutely. Well, think about our city, how much it's progressed in the last 20 years. I mean, my goodness, 1,200 people in the city in 1994. And how many do we have now?
We're getting close to 8,000.
Yep.
Yep. So we're getting there.
Yep.
And I'd just like to say a thank you to Gordon, our city manager, Gordon Hargrove. I've got to work with him quite often, and he's just done an amazing job, considering he stepped in the middle of all this.
I know, that's
and
difficult.
pretty much had to figure everything out for himself, and he has done an amazing job. And as has all our staff. Aaron and his crew tends to pull off amazing things with little to no resources, and we probably got some of the oldest equipment for a city in this state.
So, but we're slowly moving forward. You know, we would have been in good steps, but, you know, we had to pay back a $2 million loan. So that really took our city to those baby steps. So we're trying to get back from that.
And that was
So-
for the police department.
No, that was for when Florence came through. There was a $2 million loan to be able to get things done, and when some of it went to engineers, so we had to pay that loan back.
Oh,
So
okay.
we lost $2 million
Wow.
in the city. So we're trying to take those steps to get built back up.
Wow.
So that's why we're taking the crawling and baby steps.
Something that I wanted to mention while we have you here is the fact that you do have a new police department.
We do. We're going to dedicate the building on May 14th to Officer Prince. And our police department needed it. The old building wasn't big enough to be able to handle the things we need to do. The city's growing, and it gives them the opportunity to have a space when the city grows to be able to move forward. We're looking at probably trying to add some more officers because they're going to be needed soon. So we have a great police chief who works well with everybody.
I like
And
Kevin.
yeah, Kevin does a great job, and it's good to have, like I said, a team effort. We've got a good team in place. I love them.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled about everything we have. We have, like you said, Aaron in Public Works, who they'll do anything you ask them to do. Our staff in Town Hall, if you go to them with a problem, it's solved. There's a lot of great effort on the part of the city right now to
Right.
make things happen.
And the fire department, although they are not a city entity, they have a new building.
They have a new building. They are trying to get open. They keep having a little setback here and there. They did approach Charlie Miller, Representative Miller, to give a light there for emergency personnel in case they have to come out because 87 stays so busy.
Right.
So
Good
that should
idea.
be installed very soon.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things moving forward. So, yeah,
That's wonderful.
our city's growing.
Yeah. I think we're about at the end of our show.
Are we? Got about 3 minutes. Yeah, we got 3 minutes. Well, of course, once again, this hour has gone whoosh. We have great shows, folks, and I'll tell you, they go so quickly. And one of our better shows today with Mayor Winecoff.
Well, thank you for having me.
And we appreciate you coming on as often as you do and keeping us up to date on what's going on, because each municipality in this county affects the others.
It does. It
And
really does.
so we need to keep abreast of what's going on everywhere.
I think some of our municipalities could learn from you.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's like I said, you have to be willing to work for what you need and what you want in our city, and it's growing, and just waiting. And about another year, it's really going to be taking off.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for everything that you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So.
I just wanted to give you a heads up, folks. We intend to have some of the candidates this year, but prior to the May 14th primary runoff, we are hoping to have Hal Weatherman come on and talk with us. We will let you know when. Please keep tuned so that you don't miss the show with Mr. Weatherman. And if you have any ideas, questions, comments, please email us at comstillwell. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong one. Please, I have a new one. I keep forgetting. Please email us at allthingsbrunswickcounty@gmail.com. And if you have suggestions or requests, we like to honor them. Todd, thank you once again. My co-host, folks, which I couldn't do this without. I appreciate you.
I kind of doubt that.
And our tech guy, TK. We love you, TK. Thank you, folks, for joining us. Have a good week.
Good night, everybody.